رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له الملك الحق المبين وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله سيد ولد آدم أجمعين صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه الطيبين الطاهرين وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد. As we continue on Sunday, May the 13th, 7:09, in accordance with the Gregorian calendar of 2018, which coincides with, on the Hijri calendar, which agrees with the Hijri calendar, which is now the 27th of Sha'ban, which tonight will be the 28th, 1439 of the Hijrah of Mustafa alayhi salatu wassalam. And we continue our lessons in regards to our preparation for Ramadan, even though it's close. فنسأل الله تبارك وتعالى أن يبلغنا إياه وأن يباركنا فيه ويوفقنا وإياكم إلى القيام بالأعمال الصالحة فيه. As we continue, we started on the first category of those affairs that breaks one's siyam, or breaks his fast. We talked about what's called al-mufattirat al-ma'nawiyya. Al-mufattirat al-ma'nawiyya. Those affairs that break the fast here, ma'ashar al-ikhwa, which are ma'nawi, we said are intangible. And in actuality, we said it does not break the fast to the point where one will have to break his fast with food and drink if he fell into these types of acts, such as, for example, such as looking at a woman that's not permissible for him to look at, or, for example, on purposely listening to music, or purposely committing an act which is unlawful, such as, let's just say, for example, we gave an example of, for example, looking at a woman, or backbiting, or tail carrying, and things of those matters. As we talked about and said, those matters will diminish one's reward to the point where it's as if he did not fast. Because we said that the Messenger of Allah said in authentic hadith, مَنْ لَمْ يَدَعْ قَوْلَ الزُّورِ وَالْعَمَلَ بِهِ وَالْجَهَلِ فَلَيْسَ لِلَّهِ حَاجَةٌ فِي أَنْ يَضَعَ طَعَامَهُ وَشَرَابَهُ. That the Messenger of Allah said in authentic hadith, which is in Al-Bukhari, wa Abu Dawood, wa lafdhu lahu, whoever does not leave off statements of evils and actions, and likewise being unforbearing, for verily Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in need of him or her leaving off her food and drink. So you'll find that the Ahl Ilm say that this narration is al-asl, is the origin in this category which is called al-mufattirat al-ma'nawiyya. Those type of affairs that breaks one's fast, which are intangible, but they do affect one's fasting, such as the affairs of sins and evil, whether they be verbally or physically, or whether it be in the aspect of actions or statements. For verily it's incumbent upon the one who's sa'im, the one who's fasting, to avoid all those affairs while he is fasting. We also started on the second category in regards to one fasting. In regards to those matters that invalidates, for sure, without a shadow of a doubt, the second category, which is called al-mufattirat al-hissiyya. Those matters that break the fast, which are hissi, which are tangible to the senses, whether it be by seeing it, smelling it, touching it, tasting it, or what have you. And we gave the examples, just to sum up, of what we said from last lesson. We said that Ahl Ilm have discussed all the matters that what breaks one's fast, that are hissi, that are tangible. Tangible, which can be what? Tangible by the senses, hissi. Such as we said, in regards to food and drink, and what is the meaning of food and drink. meaning that one would take by al-ibar or al-ibrah or needle or an injection. For those type of the injection or needle that's put inside of the vein or the muscle, with the condition that it gives nutrients to the body. We said if it gives nutrients to the body and one inserts some type of needle or some type of shot in his vein, and if it gives nutrients to the body, then we said likewise it nullifies or invalidates one's fast. We said that this was a qa'idah or rule in which we'll find Ahl Ilm that they came derived from what is the meaning of what they call food and drink. Even though it's not consumed orally through the mouth, or it's not nor is it consumed as far as a liquid, but it is the meaning of that. Whereas a person can suffice with that needle where he does not need food and drink, rather that needle or that type of injection, if it's put in the body, then one could suffice with that without even eating or drinking anything. If that's the case, then we said likewise it breaks one's fast. We also said what breaks one's fast is intercourse, sexual intercourse or intimacy with one's spouse. Intimacy where the two private parts meet. If the two private parts meet, then not only has one fell into a major sin, as we know, but also it's upon him to carry out that expiation or that recompense of, as we know, as we talked about yesterday, rather our brother explained it in detail, Jameel Finch, Hafidullah, where he mentioned and said that person not only has fell into the kaba'ir from the major sins, and he has transgressed the sacredness of fasting, but likewise on top of that, he has also now fell into something where there's an extra hukum, there's an extra ruling, where you have to either liberate a slave, or he will have to fast 2 consecutive months, or like we said, he have to feed 60 impoverished or indigent people. So those is just to sum up. Oh, excuse me. Matter of fact, I forgot the other couple of details we wanted to add to this category. Also, likewise, one vomiting on purpose. Vomiting on purpose. And also, likewise, one allowing his semen to come out on purpose with shahwa, with desire. Meaning that he allows that semen to emanate and come out with him actually doing something to make it what? Make it emanate or make it come out by desire. And he does it on purpose. And notice that I keep emphasizing on purpose. Because that which is not purposely done, or if it's done, which is out of his control, or is not, rather it was something that was done involuntary, meaning that it was done without his choice, such as being or having a wet dream. Those affairs, when we said that's not under his control. It wasn't in his control where it happened, where he was in his sleep and he ejaculated or he had a wet dream, then his siyam is still valid, he would continue to fast. And likewise, similar to that, the female. Also likewise, also will break the one's siyam. We talked about it in the last class. Also, in regards to one smoking. And smoking likewise is considered a type of drink. It will nullify and it would invalidate one's siyam. It will validate his fast. There's a lot of affairs on which we had elaborated on. We said that will be from the affairs which will invalidate one's siyam. Like we said, food, drink, intimacy or intercourse. One, forcing semen to come out with desire. And what is the meaning of food and drink? And also likewise, one vomiting on purpose, where he sticks his fingers in his mouth and allows that vomit to come up with on his own accord, where he does it himself. Also from those affairs we said, when blood is removed from the body by cupping. Even though you'll find that there's a big khilaf amongst Ahl Ilm in this regard, but you'll find a lot of those from Ahl Ilm who say that cupping while one is fasting breaks the fast. And also likewise, the mens and the postnatal bleeding of the woman nullifies and invalidates one's fasting. So now, based upon those principles that we just took, we want to go over and review some of the affairs that is somewhat, or now we want to just say, for lack of better words, let's apply what we just covered. Let's apply what we just covered. As it was asked the great Imam Muhammad bin Salih al-Uthaymeen about a man who played with his wife while he was fasting until pre-seminal discharge emanated, until pre-seminal discharge came out. Does this invalidate one's fast? Does it or doesn't it? We said a pre-seminal discharge does not nullify one's fast. Pre-seminal discharge does not nullify or invalidate one's fast. And that is the correct opinion in this regard from the aqwal of Ahl Ilm. Due to the fact there's no evidence to show and establish this affair or this matter that pre-seminal discharge nullifies the fast. Nor in regards to qiyas. They can even use what they call an analogy to say that it's similar to semen or similar to sperm. You cannot say that. As we know that this is from the aqwal of Imam al-Shafi'i wa Abi Hanifa and also Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah rahimahullah. All of them mentioned and said that pre-seminal discharge, or what we know as what they call pre-cum or pre-seminal discharge, does not what? It does not invalidate or nullify one's siyam. And that is what's correct. So what about the person who actually, now it's another question I want to ask. What about the ruling in regards to the person who makes semen, I didn't say pre-seminal discharge, sperm or semen, that he actually does something in order to make it come out during the day of Ramadan, after he looked at the beautiful parts on a woman and he aroused his desire until semen actually was ejaculated, until it actually came out. Does it invalidate his fast? What do we say? We're not talking about pre-seminal discharge. We're talking about sperm here, semen. If this is the case, we know that semen, if that was what came out was semen because he looked at a woman, then number one, you'll find that Ahl Ilm say in this regard. Firstly, you fell into two things. You're not supposed to look at the woman and contemplate on her mahasin, her beautiful parts in which is attractive. So number one, we know the hadith of Ali ibn Abi Talib, where the Prophet ﷺ said, "Al-nadratul ula hiya lak, wa nadratul thaniya laysat lak." The first look is for you, meaning the accidental look that you accidentally seen a woman. He said that look is for you. But he said the second look, which you now start to glance and you start to contemplate, that look is not for you. So the affair becomes what? Unlawful. So the affair now becomes what? It becomes unlawful. So now it switches. So if a person now, whereas as if he contemplates and has that second look, which is not for him. So the first thing, he fell into a sin, whereas he did not lower his gaze and he contemplated on a woman that was not unlawful for him, or was not lawful for him to look at. Number two, if you want to add on to that likewise, he also fell into a major sin, which is now one has invalidated his siyam by contemplating on the attractive parts, or the beautiful parts of the woman, until semen came out. That's based upon the second look. Based upon the second look. So if it emanated while the second look, where he contemplated until the point where this happened, then he invalidated his siyam. You'll find that even the great Imam that he mentions this, he mentions in this regard, and it says, and actually explains, where he says, نحن ننصح جميع الصائمين إلى أن يتقوا الله ولا ينظر النظر المحرم والإنسان الذي يطلق نظره للنساء لا بد يقع في البلاء. We advise all of the people who are fasting to fear Allah and not to look an unlawful look, or those unlawful looks in which a person that he uses his gaze for women. It's not permissible to what? To do. For verily, more than likely, he will fall inside of some type of trial or tribulation, because the gaze is an arrow, or the poisonous arrow from the arrows of Iblis. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. If a person now, every time a woman who's beautiful passes by him, فجعل ينظر فيها فإنه لابد أن يتعب قلبه. For every beautiful woman that he starts to now look at her and contemplate on her, he says you'll find that he will what? He will exhaust his heart. He will render his heart weary because you're looking at something that is not yours. It's nothing you could do. And also likewise, you will render your iman, your faith, render it weak and incomplete. And you will fall in affairs in which it will be hard for you to what? To escape after that. And which will maybe come later. So if the first look, he says, إذا كانت النظرة خاطفة والإنسان قوي الشهوة بمجرد ما نظر للمرأة أنزل فإن صيامه صحيح لأن هذا في غير اختياره. أما إذا جعل ينظر ويتأمل في محاسن هذه المرأة حتى أنزل فإن صيامه يفسد بذلك ويجب عليه يقضي يوما مكانه بعد رمضان. If the first look is a look that's khatifa, meaning that it was an accidental type look, it was done haphazardly, or it was done out of just a accidental glance or what have you, and the person is strong in his desire. Now listen to this. For merely when he looks at the woman, and if he's strong in his desire, and it happened on the first look, the first accidental look, notice that the great Imam says that his fasting is valid. Even if the sperm comes out. Why? He said because it happened due to the lack of his choice. He said as if this person was what? If he's strong desire and it happened on the accidental look. Accidentally. However, if it happened on the look where he contemplated and it was on the second one, and now sperm actually came out or that he ejaculated or what have you, then his fasting will render or become invalid due to that. Due to him contemplating on that woman until what? Like we said, the sperm, once it's been emanated or once it's ejaculated, then his fasting will become what? It will be invalid. That's on the second look, not the what? Not the first look. The first accidental look. The first accidental glance, slight, quick second, turned away. But still, there's certain men out there who have a very strong desire, especially in their youth. That's all it took was a half a look. He said if that happened in that particular instance where he had the first accidental look and sperm emanated, then his fast is still valid. If it was the second look that he looked on purpose and contemplated on those attractive body parts of the woman, which will come as a result of it after that contemplation on those beautiful parts of her, and if sperm was now to be ejaculated where it comes out, then his fasting will be rendered what? Invalid. طيب. Another question. What about a person who suffers what they call salisu bowl? فأراد يخفف أن يجفف ذكره فخرج منه مني في نهار رمضان ماذا عليه? What about a man that he has what they call salisu bowl? I think it's called continence, where a person has urine that he can't control. It might come out on its own. I don't know what they call it. I think they call it continence or something like that. But anyway, when a person can't control his urine, sometimes it would just what? It just come out. You can't control it. That's what they call salisu bowl. Salisu bowl. A person has this type of sickness. And he wanted to what? Basically dry or clean off his private part. So sperm came out during the month of Ramadan. What is upon him? You'll find number one, he says, what is obligatory upon this one? He says, الواجب على هذا الصائم يمسك عن التجفيف إذا أحس بالشهوة. لأن المعروف إذا قويت الشهوة حصل الإنزال. فإن استمر على ذلك حتى أنزل بشهوة فإنه يؤثم ويفسد صومه ويلزمه المساك بقية اليوم والقضاء. أما إذا نزل المني بغير شهوة فصومه صحيح ولا قضاء عليه. Listen to the answer. So a person might have what they call continence, or continence, I think that's what they call it, continence, with the actual urine that it comes out without the person controlling it. He says, what's obligatory upon the person to refrain from wiping it off or touching it if he feels or has the sense of desire starting to take him over. He said, because what is known, that once desire becomes strong, it will become strong to the point where actually sperm will what? Will come out. And if he continues to do that, and he also allows sperm to come out due to desire, then he will be sinful. and his fasting will be invalid. And he will have to refrain from food and drink for the rest of the day, and he will have to make it up after the month of Ramadan. But if he now, let's just say, sperm came out, but it wasn't due to desire, it might have been due to something else, then his fast is still valid, and he will not have to what? He would not have to make it up. Another question, like we said, is it obligatory now for a person to make up fast if preseminal discharge comes out or not? If the preseminal discharge is emanated, does one have to make up the fast? No. The one does not have to make up the fast. What about al-qa'idah in regards to al-dabit, or what is the principle in regards to blood that leaves out from the body and it corrupts or invalidates one's soul, his fast? In regards to blood, what do we say? What is the actual qa'idah? What is the rule? Number one, we say the blood that invalidates one's siyam, as far as with men, of course, is the blood that comes out due to cupping. If one gets cupped. Due to what the Messenger of Allah ﷺ mentioned in the hadith, after al-haj wal-mahjum, the one who's doing the cupping and the one who's getting the blood sucked out, both of them have broken their fast. We'll talk about that in a minute. This is in the book. Then, as you'll know, that Ahl Ilm, they compare the cupping to a lot of other affairs. What is the meaning of cupping? And what a person does by his own choice. Notice that I keep saying what? By his own choice. For example, a lot of blood will emanate and come out, and it will affect his body to the point he's rendered weak. As we know, siyam is what? It will become invalid by al-hijama, by one cupping. And you'll find that the Sharia al-Islamiyya does not differentiate between two affairs which are similar. Nor does it gather between two affairs that are what? Different. As for a person now that goes out without the intention, for example, a person might have a nosebleed. Or for example, he might cut himself or have a wound on his body due to a knife because he was cutting up some meat. And he cut himself and a lot of blood came out. A lot of blood came out. What happened? Does it now render his fast siyam invalid or not? Or let's just say he walked over something sharp, cut his leg, a lot of blood started coming out. All of that was what? Unintentional. Which comes as a result of it is still as fast as what, everyone? It's invalid? It's valid. It's valid. Keep in mind, like we said, to the three conditions in regards to what we said last class, of what also one has to have in order for us to say whether or not a person's fast is valid or invalid. And those three things are what? Number one is ilm. Knowledge of the actual ruling and knowledge of the time. And number two is what? He has to be a state of remembrance. And the third one is what? Something being done intentionally. For one of those three things, if they're there, then there will be a barrier for him for his fast to be protected. For example, a person will not know the proper time to when fasting starts or when it's what? When it's over. Or for example, he's ignorant of the actual ruling. Or for example, he's in a state of forgetfulness. Or he did it intentionally. And this is an example of doing something what? Unintentionally. So it go against the what? The affair which we talked about and explained, which is what? Doing something on purpose. For a nosebleed is not something that's done on purpose. But a lot of blood might come out, which we've seen from people that have this type of sickness or what have you. A lot of blood will come out. You find it even in towels or tissues that they have, a lot of blood actually or a lot of quantities of blood might come out. And also likewise, a wound in the body due to a knife that him might be cutting some piece of meat into what? He cuts his finger. A lot of blood might come out. Or for example, a person might walk past a piece of glass, cut his leg. All that was unintentional, right everyone? If this is the case, even if blood comes out, then what do we say? His fast is still what? Still valid. However, if a lot of blood comes out, and he's done it on purpose. Or matter of fact, I'm going to switch it first. He said, فَإِنَّ ذَلِكَ لَا يُسِدُ الصَّوْمَ وَلَوْ خَرَجَ مِنْهُ دَمٌ كَثِيرٌ كَذَلِكَ لَوْ خَرَجَ دَمٌ يَسِيرٌ. Also, in regards to the person that does not do something intentionally, it doesn't matter whether a lot of blood come out or a little bit of blood come out. It will not affect his what? It will not affect his fast. He says, so similar to that, a person that usually has blood removed as a suppository. What they call كالدم الذي يؤخذ للتحليل فلا يفسد الصوم أيضا. Like the blood also likewise is took as a suppository or used as a what? As some type of specimen or blood specimen that one examines. That a little bit is taken out from one's body and the doctor takes it, examines it. Does it invalidate the fast? We said what? This does not validate the fast due to the fact that it was what? It was only a little bit of blood. So you'll find, like we said, Ahl Ilm saying that cupping while one is fasting does break the fast. This is the opinion of a lot of Ahl Ilm. But it's a big khilaf, it's a major difference of opinion in this regard. So it's better for one not to what? Indulge inside of cupping while he's fasting until the sun goes down. Dialysis is slightly different. Because when you perform a dialysis, blood goes back in the body. It's out, it gets purified and it goes back in. Hijab is just getting removed, that's it. So they kind of say slightly different. Because when a person gets dialysis done, when he has dialysis done, the blood, like we said, is taken out, is withdrawn from the body. It's purified, it's cleansed, and then it's put back in. Exactly. A person usually that has kidney failure, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve us, and he has to have dialysis done, he have to fast. He wouldn't have to fast. He would not have to what? Have to fast. طيب. I talked about that. In regards to now, another question. If a person is fasting, if he wounded himself, in which blood starts hemorrhaging, does it break his fast? The person starts hemorrhaging, it's a lot of blood starting to come out. Excessive blood. No. Does it break the fast? Why? He says no. Why? It's unintentional. طيب. لا يؤثر على الصيام شيئا فإن جرح الصائم وخرج دم كثير فإنه لا يؤثر شيئا. يعني ذلك لأن هذا الجرح بغير اختياره. See? ومن شروط كون المفطر مفطرا أن يكون باختيار الفاعل. أما ما وقع بغير اختياره فإنه لا يضره ولا ينقض صيامه ولا يفطره. لذلك لو احتلم الرجل في صيامه وخرج منه الماء فإنه لا يفطر بذلك لأنه بغير اختياره. Notice that we keep emphasizing without not being unintentional, without his own choice. Those things play a very major role in whether or not, or given the hukum of whether or not one's fast is what? Valid or invalid. He even says it right here. If a person now wounds himself and a lot of blood comes out, it doesn't affect anything. That's because a wound was done unintentional and not by his choice. Walked by a piece of glass, cut, didn't even feel it. Looked at his arm, a lot of blood started coming out. As we said, from the conditions of what breaks one's fast, that has to be by the choice of the one who did it. By his own choice, and it was done on his own accord. As for what takes place without his choice, and it wasn't in his own accord, for verily it does not what? It does not harm him, nor does it what? Invalidate his siyam, nor does it break it. For that reason, we always say, if a person now has to have a وَلَوْ احْتَلَمَ الرَّجُلُ فِي صِيَامِهِ وَخَرَجَ مِنْهُ الْمَاءِ فَإِنَّهُ لَا يُفْطِرُ بِذَلِكَ لِأَنَّهُ بِغَيْرِ اخْتِيَارِهِ. He said, for that reason, a person now has to have a wet dream in his fast, and semen came out. Does it break the fast? Why? We said no, it doesn't break your fast. Why? He was asleep. It was done unintentional, and it was done out of his own what? It was out of his control. No, he would have to make a ghusl. Still have to make a ghusl. But he still what? He still continues in his fast. But he would have to make a ghusl, absolutely. طيب. أما إذا كان هذا الجرح باختياري بأن فصد أو حجم فإن ذلك مفطر على القول الراجح من أقوال أهل العلم لأنه كما جاء في السنة عن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أفطر الحاج والمحجوم. He says, as for if a person now was the reason for causing this wound intentionally, whereas he did what they call fast or hajam. Fast is when you, how can I say it? fasada or fast in Arabic is like, it's like you gather it, push it, or do something to like force it to come out. Gather it, push it. That's like fasad. Or hijab, or a person performs hijama. In the old days, which we'll talk about inshallah, how cupping or why the message of Allah sallallahu which this is going to come in the book, where the message of Allah sallallahu had talked about how the one who performs the cupping on a person and the one that's getting the blood removed, both break their fast. Some of Ahl Ilm say, is it an amrun ta'abbudi, or is it due to the fact that the ways or the methods of how they used to do it was a reason for one breaking his fast? Why did I say amrun ta'abbudi? Is it just due to the fact that the Messenger of Allah just said it, and it's an affair in which it's from the unseen, and khalas? Whether or not the procedures or the methods in the old times was different, and whether it's new or what have you, it doesn't matter. They say it's just an affair that's an aspect of worship. That's what some of them say. Some of them say a second reason. They say no. They say due to the fact of the method of how it used to be done in the times of old, where they used to take a horn, and the person used to put it on the body of the person having it perform, and he would suck it. That was the old method. So you'll find the majority of Ahl Ilm say it's the second reason. Due to the fact that the horn, they used to suck it to the point where maybe the blood will what? Actually enter the body of the person who was performing the cupping on that individual. And you'll find the majority of Ahl Ilm say that. Sheikh Imam al-Albani, Sheikh Salih Fawzan, Sheikh Uthaymeen, and other than them. They all say, and even Sheikh AbdurRazzaaq bin Baz, they all mention and say that was the reason. Because the old method of cupping was used with a horn. They used to suck it until the blood would enter the person's what? The mouth, they would swallow it, and it would be a means or reason for what? One breaking his fast. So due to that reason, they say that's the reason why the Prophet ﷺ said, Aftar al-hajim wal-mahjum. The one who's doing the cupping and the one who's getting it done breaks their fast. Both of them. That's due to the old method from back in the day. That's what they say. However, we know it's slightly different in these days and times. Now they have the actual pump where a person doesn't have to put his mouth on the person at all. They just pump it. Pump it, put the thing back on, cut the blood out, starts coming up, then pump it again, and the blood starts coming out. All right? Fine. At any rate, you'll find that if a wound was done due to one causing it or making it himself, either by fast or hajam, either by that, something done intentional. He does it himself. And if a lot of blood comes out, then what? Then we say, upon what is the strongest opinion, that it does break one's fast. If it's done on purpose and he's the one that caused it, it does break the fast. And they use this to say that it's similar to what? Hijama. It's similar to cupping. Due to the fact you'll find that upon those who say that cupping does break the fast, they say the reason why it breaks the fast because a lot of blood comes out, or large quantities of blood comes out. And blood is the main reason the cause to give one strength in his body. And if one loses a lot of blood, he loses his what? His strength. That's similar to the what? To the woman. When she's on her time during the month, when she's on her monthly cycle, usually a woman becomes what? Weak, and they crave sweets into the end of it. Because blood was coming out, and as a result of it, like we said, it caused some type of weakness. And it caused some type of deficiency, or if you want to say, lack of energy in the body. So similar to that, hold on for a second. Similar to that, we say, similar to what we're mentioning now, you'll find that Ahl Ilm say that in regards to what is done by one's own choice. If he does it with his own choice and a lot of blood comes out, then what? The fast is broken. The fast is broken. Because the blood that came out was a lot. And they say it's similar to the cupping. So they make an analogy and say it's what? It's similar to qiyas. So this, even when I'll mention it quickly what the great Imam mentions, says, وَالْمَحْجُومِ يُفْطِرُ يَنَهُ يَنْزِفُ مِنْهُ دَمٌ كَثِيرٌ يُؤَدِّي إِلَى ضَعْفِ بَدَنِهِ وحينئذ يحتاج إلى الأكل والشرب لأجل سد هذا الضعف فإذا اضطر الإنسان إلى الحجامة والصائم فاحتجم فإنه يفطر ونأمره بأن يتناول الأكل والشرب لأجل أن يعود نشاطه إليه وهذا هو الوجه في كون المحجوم يفطر لأنه يشق عليه يبقى بدنه ضعيفا بعد الحجامة فمن رحمة الله به أن جعل ذلك سببا للفطر حتى يتناول الأكل والشرب ولهذا لو اضطر الإنسان لسحب الدم من رجل لينقل إلى مريض مثلا فإنه يجوز سحبه في هذه الحال إذا قال الأطباء إنه لابد من سحب الدم من هذا لنقله إلى المريض فيسحبه منه وفي هذه الحال نقول لهذا الذي سحب منه الدم قد أفطرت لأن هذا الدم الكثير بمنزلة الحجامة. To the end of it. He says the person who's having cupping done breaks his fast. Number one, he did it on purpose, right? He says also likewise a lot of blood comes out profusely. And it's a large quantities of blood comes out. And what will come as a result of it, it will end up causing weakness in his body. He said for that reason, a person would need what? Eating and drinking in order to what? In order to bring back, or in order to remove this weakness. For verily if a person, he is in dire need, of course, if he's in dire need to cup while he's fasting, if he does it, then it breaks it. And then we'll also have to command him to what? We will have to command him after that he will have to eat and drink in order to restore his energy. And this is the reason why they say that what? One having cupping done to him breaks the fast. Oh, well, first of all, because it's a difficulty upon him. And his body will remain weak after the cupping. For the mercy of Allah Ta'ala, from His infinite mercy upon us, He has made that a reason for breaking fast. So until a person, or in order for a person to what? To eat and drink to restore it. For verily now, let's just listen. For verily now, if a person was in a very, if you want to say, let's just say, for example, a person was in a dire, extreme circumstance where now blood has to be sucked out or be taken, and he will have to now give it what they call blood transfusion, for example. And it was an emergency. So now you have a person fasting and a person that's sick. He needs the blood. What do you say? Here in this instance, we will say to the person who needs the blood transfusion, or the person that wants to donate the blood, the donor. We'll say to the donor, say to him, break your fast, and what? Aid the individual. You will have to make it up though. But here in this instance, it's permissible to break his fast. Because now this is what they call darura. It's a life-threatening situation. It's life-threatening. And as we know, the qa'idah in fiqh is al-mahdhurat tubtilu, al-daruriyat wa darurat tubtilu al-mahdhurat. It's a qa'idah in fiqh saying that affairs that necessitates death or something that's life-threatening, it nullifies momentarily what is prohibited. Momentarily. Such as, for example, an affair, a person fasting, there's nothing wrong with him. So initially he's not supposed to what? Break it. He's supposed to what? Remain fasting. However, a person is what? About to die. So a person is going to say, you're the same type blood he is. I'm fasting. He's going to die. I'm fasting. I'm fasting. No, I don't know what he's going to do. I'm fasting. This is the reason why it's important to know these affairs and these qawa'id. You understand, everyone? Person would say, well, I'm fasting. I don't know what you're going to do. I'm fasting. So his life threatening, he's about to die. Here, the qa'idah takes place, what? Those darurat, or daruriyat, or darurat, tubtil al-mahdhurat. Here the qa'idah takes place, those extreme, life-threatening situations that comes as a result, might come as a result of death. He says it nullifies momentarily that what? Those prohibited matters. Another example of that qa'idah is, a person's in the desert, only thing around him is pig meat. He's about to die. We know it's been permissible for a Muslim to what? Eat khinzir. Only thing is around him is pig meat. Or anything, or something that's around him that's not permissible for him to eat. So according to that qa'idah, he would eat that which is momentarily, of course, that little bit of meat that's unlawful in order to keep his what? His body alive. You understand? So momentarily it nullified what was what? It was what was impermissible before, of course. Now it made it, not saying it's halal, we're not saying that. It just nullified it momentarily. You understand? So you see the beauty of our religion, how complete it is, and how comprehensive it is, and how Ahl Ilm have studied these matters, and how it's important to attain the ilm of these affairs. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? At any rate, he says, let's just say now blood had to be removed from a person in order to transfer the blood to the one who's sick. We say here it's permissible for him to what? To have of course, to break the fast. Let's just say now he had the blood removed from him, which is a lot of blood, in order to perform that blood transfusion, the donor being passed on to the one who's sick. Even let's just say he didn't eat or drink. If he has had the blood removed, it broke it. It broke the fast. However, he's not sinful. But still, in actuality, still in the end of the day, he still broke it. But it was in order to save a person's life. So he's not sinful. But he still has to what? Make it up. Is it clear, everyone? He says, لِأَنَّ هَذَا الدَّمِ الْكَثِيرِ بِمَنزِلَةِ الْحِجَامَةِ. He says, for the person who's sick, when the blood was removed from the donor, and in this state we say that the person who had the blood removed from him, you have broke the fast. Because a lot of blood came out, and it was similar to what? Cupping. Or the person having his blood removed while he was fasting when he was getting cupped. He says, so similar to that, you won't have the need for something of food and drink for the rest of your day, of course, in order for your strength to come back and restore your energy. You just make up that day that you broke it. However, is he sinful? We say no. Rather, he'll be, inshallah, might even receive a reward from Allah Ta'ala for saving a person's life. طيب. أما الشيء اليسير. Now let's just say, as for a little bit of blood that might have exited from the body, even if it was due to the choice of the person, does it break the fast? A little bit of blood. A little bit. A little bit. Just a little bit. Went to the doctor. The doctor said, I need to take a blood specimen. Here. That's due to your own choice. You stuck your finger out. Here, take it. Huh? Does it break the fast or not? A little bit of blood. A little bit of blood. Huh? Due to your own choice. Amir says no. Why do you say no, Amir? It's just a little bit of blood. It's not excessive. And we said the hijama is what? It's excessive blood that comes out. But if it's a little bit of blood, then what? Doesn't affect anything. Is it clear? So as for something that's minor, a little bit of blood, even if it's due to the choice of the person, no problem. He said, فَهَذَا لَا بَأْسَ بِهِ مِثْلُ أَنْ يُسْحَبَ مِنْهُ دَمٌ يَسِيرٌ لِفَحْصِهِ. It says I just said it. I just said it just now. لِفَحْصِهِ وَتَحْلِيلِهِ فإن ذلك لا بأس به يعني هذا ليس حجامة ولا بمعنى الحجامة ولا يؤثر على البدن تأثير الحجامة ومثل هذا لو قلع الصائم. Now listen to this part. لو قلع الصائم ضرسه فخرج منه الدم فإن هذا الدم لا يفطره. I want everyone to listen to this point. لكن عليه أن يحول دون ابتلاع الدم حتى لا يصل إلى معدته ولكن مع هذا لو تهرب شيء من هذا الدم بغير اختياره فإنه لا يفطر بذلك. This is the reason why I'm teaching you guys this before Ramadan starts, because this happened to me one day. So now listen to this. A little bit of blood comes out due to the person having, for example, going to the doctors or due to some examination or a blood specimen that has to be took from the doctor, going to the doctor. For verily, if a little bit of blood was taken, then what? It does not, does not break the fast. Because we don't say it's like cupping. It's not. It's not like cupping, is it? Nor is it the meaning of cupping. And it does not affect the body, an effect that comes from cupping. It doesn't. Listen to this part. Similar to that, let's just say a person removed a tooth because he's suffering from a very bad toothache. So a lot of blood came out. A lot of blood came out. Or let's just say some blood came out. For verily, this blood doesn't break the fast or not. He's suffering. Having the tooth pulled. You want to go get a tooth removed, huh? Does it break it fast or not? You got a tooth pulled. Bismillah. Good question. Think. I'll give you 1 minute. Bismillah. What if he doesn't intentionally swallow it? It's not what's due to his own choice. Yeah, think. Think hard. Contemplate. Concentrate. What do you say, Amir? Jayyid. He's on the right. I'll give you a hint. He's on the right way, giving the right answer so far. He's right so far. Jayyid. He can break the fast? Or no. Matter of fact, let me ask this. This brings us to the next question. Does it break your fast? A nosebleed or blood that comes out due to a tooth being removed? Usually a good amount of blood comes out when a person is having a tooth pulled. As far as a nosebleed, that's clear. That's clear. Because a person usually can't cause a nosebleed. I don't think unless you punch yourself in the back. But that's unintentional, a nosebleed. So for that reason, it wouldn't break one's fast if one had a nosebleed. طيب. Now, what about a tooth being pulled or a tooth being removed? خلع الضرس, because they call it. He said, هل يبطل الصوم بالرعاف وكذلك خروج الدم بخلع الضرس. بخلع الضرس. A tooth being pulled or tooth removal. طيب, I'll answer it quickly because we got time. We got time to take. We have to take care of some time. We have some stuff we want to cover. طيب, your fast of a person is not invalid if blood comes out which is not intentional. Even if the person has a nosebleed, even if a lot of blood comes out, then his fast is still valid. ولا حرج عليه أيضا في خلع الضرس. Now listen to this part. There's no problem upon him in his tooth being pulled or removed. Because he did not what? He did not remove the tooth for the blood to come out. Now it's clear now. He did not remove the tooth in order for the blood to come out. Just for the pain, for the suffering he was going through. But the blood came along with it. But that wasn't his intention to make the blood come out. These affairs, when we talking about the blood, is what intentionally made the what come out. When you do hijama, that's intention. You want that blood to come out, right? You cut yourself intentionally with a knife. Cut. Your intention is to what? Your blood to come out, right? However, the tooth is a different story. The tooth is what? You want the blood to come out? That was your intention. I want the blood. No, you want the tooth pulled out. I want that suffering to be done. Suffering. I think everybody knows I've been through toothaches, even me. Alhamdulillah, I had all four pulled at the same time, my wisdom teeth. All four. Took it out all simultaneously. And the doctor said there was one that was stubborn. He said it was wrapped around my bone or my jaw or something like that. It was wrapped around it. It was extremely stubborn. And they had to kind of like, they said that they showed me, and I said, no wonder that's giving me problems. Because that was the one that gave me problems. Out of everything's healed right, but that one took longer. It was just one real stubborn one. It's always one out of the four, even in your children. One stands out, you got to give you problems, right? Or a couple. So it says, as far as removal of the tooth, then what? In actuality, what do we say, everyone? Doesn't break the fast. He says, وَإِنَّمَا خَلَعَ الضِّرْسِ لِلتَّأَذِّ مِنْ فهو إنما يريد إزالة هذا الضرس ثم إن الغالب أن الدم الذي يخرج من الضرس أنه دم يسير. Well, he says it's a small bowel, but a little bit of blood that comes out. فلا يكون معنى الحجامة. He says a person that has this tooth pulled or tooth removed, in order and blood might come out with it, verily he only removed the tooth in order to remove the harm, because he was suffering from it due to the pain. For verily his intention was to remove the tooth. He says, and in most cases, the blood that comes out from the tooth, Sheikh says here, but he says it's a little bit of blood. He says not really not much blood like cupping. And so that reason we can't say it's like cupping. And I would say the same thing. It's not a lot. That's not blood similar to cupping. Cupping is a lot of blood they take out. طيب. We already talked about that. Again, so now we want to ask the question again. Removal of, let me ask this question. Is it permissible now for the one who's fasting to have blood taken from him in the hospital or other than the hospital? What do we say? Let me hear your answer quickly. You gotta get details. You can't just say no. You get some details. First word that needs to come out of you guys is if it's unintentional or intentional. Bil-irada or bil-qasd. Remember the three words we said: ilm, dhikr, wa qasd. Something that's done intentionally. Right? Keep that in mind. So so now we need to first elaborate on what? Whether something is done intentionally or unintentionally. Both of them have their own answers. What's done intentionally breaks down to two what? Two affairs. One, if it's a little bit of blood, doesn't. If it's a lot of quantities or large amounts or large quantities of blood, and it's intentional, then what? It breaks it. طيب, what is unintentional? That's easy. Whether it be a little bit or whether it be a lot, doesn't break the fast. Is it clear? So that sums up everything. We already talked about that. Alhamdulillah. I don't need to. تفضل.
One was on birth control, but not on the menses. Then it caused irregular bleeding for like a month straight. And it wasn't a lot of blood, though. But a good amount. Would it also break the fast? Or would one still be able to pray?
So a sister asked a question. She said she started taking birth control.
It's not caused by menses.
The woman was taking birth control. And it caused her mens to be irregular. For a month straight.
But it wasn't a lot of blood, though.
It wasn't a lot of blood.
But it was a good amount. Would it break the fast?
Will it break the fast? That's the reason why sisters. Alhamdulillah. Anyway, sisters, in regards to what I spoke about to them, there's three types of blood. As a matter of fact, let me just sum it up. There's two types of blood that comes out from the woman. You have blood that's mens. You have a blood, what they call damu fasad, or what they call istihada. Damu fasad or istihada. Or they call it irq, or damu irq. They call it that too. So the first category is immense. That's bil ijma'. That's by consensus. That invalidates one woman's prayer and her fast. The second category is called damu fasad, or what they call istihada. Istihada is just a hemorrhage. It's a vein. But this has nothing to do with immense. But it causes a woman still to bleed. That is still in that instance, a woman still prays and she still what? Fasts, even if she sees that blood. Now the question comes in, how do you distinguish? That's the three methods that we gave to our sisters in the class a couple of weeks ago. The first method that a woman uses in order to distinguish whether or not she's on hayd or istihada, whether she's on her mens or what they call a corrupt blood, meaning a vein, how she distinguishes between the two, is she goes back to when her mens was normal. He counts those days. Those days when her menstruation was normal, based upon those days when it was on time, it was systematic, or every month, she'll go back to those days. So those days when it was systematic, where she usually will have her mens on a particular date or day or time, and usually a woman knows the signs of a mens because usually accompanies along with it is cramps. So when she gets what they call talq, or what they call cramp, cramps they call them qal, I think. Talq is like what do you call it? No, it's not bloating. Talq is like when a woman's about to have a baby. What they call those pains? Labor pains, contractions. That's the talq. I'm talking about uqad, the cramps. But at any rate, usually a woman knows that she's on her mens based upon the time of the date when it was normal. And usually what accompanies along with it is cramps. So she knows in those days when her mens was normal, and she's counting those days and those times, through those days, especially when she has, along with that cramps, she knows it's absolutely what? It's a mens. So it's incumbent upon her to what? To stop praying and to what? To fast. Like, now when her mens was normal and the day when it stopped, normally when it stops, that's what she looks at. So on the day when it stops, when it was normal, she counts those days all the way up to day when it usually supposed to what? Stop. Now she continues by after that day. Then after that, it's not considered a mens anymore. It's considered istihada. It's considered damu fasad. It's considered the second type of blood. So now she will still return to what? Fasting and praying. So that's the first method how a woman can distinguish between the two. Exactly. If that's the case, where in regards to whether or not it agreed with her monthly cycle when it was normal. The second way that a woman knows is, you'll find that the Prophet ﷺ, what happened to Fatima bint Hubaysh, the hadith, the Fatima bint Hubaysh, when the Prophet ﷺ, when she said to the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, "Inni ustahadu," verily I'm on istihada. He says, "فَيَخْرُجُ مِنِّي دَمٌ كَثِيرٌ." So the Prophet ﷺ said to her, he said, فَالدَّمُ or damu istihada or damun fasad, he says, aswad yu'raf. The Prophet ﷺ said, he said, verily blood of a woman, this is another way he was given to describe whether or not she's able to see whether or not it's a mens. He says it's black and it usually has a smell to it. And it's thick. And some Ahl Ilm add on a third characteristic. So it's black, it's usually like a blackish color, it's thick and it has a smell, it's an odor. In contrast to istihada. Istihada is the opposite of those three characteristics. It usually doesn't have odor. It's usually it's not thick and it's not black. So that's another way that a woman can distinguish whether or not she has what? Istihada or hayd, or whether she has a mens or not a mens. Then after that, after she becomes pure, usually a woman of the signs, what they say in the hadith, when a woman becomes pure, is what they call al-qassat al-bayda. The white type of what? It's like a whiteness that comes out after the blood stops. That white type of liquid, it's called al-qassat al-bayda. That that whiteness is usually an indication she's pure now. But at any rate, if she becomes purified, it stops, then maybe a couple of days after, some type of discoloration might come in, something yellow or some type of discolor or discoloration or some yellowness. After she becomes pure, then it's not considered anything. She still will continue to fast and pray. That's due to the hadith of Atiyah. The Prophet ﷺ said, كنا, or Atiyah, she must have said, كنا لا نعود على عهد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم الصفر والقدرة بعد الطهر شيئا. That we, during the time of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, during his time, we never considered yellowness or discoloration after we became purified anything. Meaning that we would still continue to what? Pray and fast. So those details you need to give to her. All right, did that answer a question? All right, G. It could be. Just investigate, make sure the details applies on her, whether or not those apply. طيب. Now, we just mentioned about the tooth being pulled or removed. What would he say, everyone? Doesn't invalidate the fast. Due to what was intended was to remove the tooth, not for what? Not for blood. Not for the blood, but actually to the removal of what? The pain. The actual pain. Yeah. Now a question. خروج الدم من الأنف أو من أحد أعضاء الجسم وضرب الإبر في الوريد أو في الورق والقطرة والكحل والمرهم والتغرغر بعلاج في الفم هل تفطر؟ وهل هناك دليل أو قاعدة يقاس عليها؟ Now it's another question. Blood coming out from the nose or from one of the parts of the body. Just kind of like a random question all summed up in one. Or a person having some type of what? Needle put in them, in the vein or in the muscle. Or in the side, or fil warak. Meaning on this, oh, you can't either, okay. I'll call you there. What happened? Oh, Nadir is it? Okay. Regularity, uniformity, steadiness. Allahu Akbar, Allah. Allah Akbar, Allah. Inshallah. That's crazy because what you just asked me was the next one, man. That's crazy. That's crazy. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آتي محمد الوسيلة والفضيلة وبعث مقام محمود الذي وعدته. طيب, these questions are a little bit connected with. We'll take a couple of these questions and we'll move on. This is something I wanted to say for the sisters. At any rate, we say on Ramadan, more than likely I might start a couple more days. Time is just flying. I can't believe how fast this month went by so fast. Wow, So it's 27th, it's supposed to be the 28th of Sha'ban now, the night 28th of Sha'ban. That's ridiculous, subhanAllah. Anyway. طيب, it was asked the فضيلة الشيخ امرأة حامل ونزل منها الدم في نهار رمضان فما الحكم. A woman that's pregnant, that blood started emanated from her during the day of Ramadan, what is the ruling? طيب, so a woman's pregnant. So this is a little bit tricky. It says ونزل منها الدم في نهار رمضان فما الحكم. وامرأة حامل. So he asks, إذا كانت المرأة حامل ونزل منها الدم ولم يكن منتظما. This is similar to the question I just said. Listen, he gave similar the exact same answer. It's kind of strange that this is actually agreeing to the answer kind of what I just gave you. Listen to this. Woman was pregnant. Blood came out while she was pregnant. However, ولم يكن منتظما انتظامه السابق على الحمل. He said now, what's the ruling? He said that if a woman now is pregnant and blood came out and it wasn't upon the system, meaning a previous systematic mince of what was before, meaning before she was pregnant. And usually this more than likely might happen right after she becomes pregnant. Sometimes the blood doesn't automatically stop. In most cases, when a woman becomes pregnant, the blood stops. That's usually the sign that a woman's what? Pregnant, meaning her mense stops. Her mense doesn't come on, just to be more in detail. Usually when a woman becomes pregnant, her mense stops. That's usually the sign she's what? Pregnant. Her mense didn't come on. Sometimes in certain cases, the system for this first month might carry on still. That's in some rare cases. Right? If it's based upon that system previously from when it was what? Systematic, then that blood is what? It's immense. Why? Because the blood carried on. Like for example, a woman pregnant, her notes are immense. In the first, before she was pregnant, it was on a certain time, certain day throughout 3 or 4 or 5 months. She became pregnant. So in the first month or the first what they call trimester, what's they call it? They call it trimester. But anyway, the first stage of the pregnancy, the first stage where she just became pregnant. If it agreed with her previous cycle, when it was normal, and it was in the first stage of her pregnancy, and in those same days, in that same time frame, that the blood comes out, then it what? It's immense. It's immense. But that's rare. But it does happen. Now, however, if it was based upon that system, it's immense. But if it's something that blood that just what? That might have came out in the middle of the pregnancy, just something that might have what? Came out while she was pregnant. Let me just finish reading the question, or finish reading the answer. He says, إذا لم يكن منتظما انتظامه السابق على الحمل فإن هذا الدم ليس بشيء سواء كان نقطة أو نقطتين أو دم كثير لأن ما تراه الحامل من الدم يعتبر دم فساد إلا إذا كانت حيضتها منتظمة على ما هي عليه قبل الحمل فإنه يكون حيض وأما إذا توقف الدم ثم طرأ فإن المرأة تصوم وتصلي وصومها صحيح وصلاتها كذلك ولا شيء عليها لأن هذا الدم ليس بحيض. To the end of it. So similar to what I just said. So now if a woman is pregnant and it wasn't systematic upon, it would mean it was off track. It didn't agree with her previous menstruation when it was what? Systematic. When it was regular and it was in uniformity, they call it, or steadiness, when it was regular. Meaning it came off a system, different. Totally different. He says, now if this happened while she's pregnant and there's some drops that come out or a couple of drops, or even just say a lot, what the woman who's pregnant sees here is the second category of blood, not the first. Why? Because it was in agreement with her what? Previous cycle when it was normal. He said, now if her mense now was systematic and it's upon what it was before the pregnancy, then what, everyone? It's the first category. It's haid. It's mense. أما إذا توقف الدم ثم طرأ فإن المرأة تصوم وتصلي وصومها صحيح وصلاتها كذلك ولا شيء عليها لأن هذا الدم ليس بحيض. As for the blood stop, it stopped. Of course, usually when a woman is pregnant, it stopped. Then it just happened to what? Unexpectedly, haphazardly. Came out of nowhere while she was pregnant. Still, this blood here is considered what? We said it's the second. She prays and she fasts, and her fast is valid. This is the benefits of what? Of studying and knowing this. Because some women, they'll blood, 2-3 weeks. Oh, I don't fast, I don't pray. That's the reason why you have to study these ahkam. Because maybe those days your events was on, but it had stopped, and those days you had to pray. Because it's not what? It's not a mens. It's something else. It's istihada. You understand, everyone? طيب. These questions is about for the women. I mean, I won't go get too deep into that. I'm sorry, brothers probably want to say that for the sisters. we keep it for the brothers. But that was just an extra benefit in regards to that, man. We got about, 2 more minutes? 2 minutes. We got 2 more minutes. G. That's still for the women. I got a sa'im or sharib nat. Good question. I think everyone, inshallah, knows this. إذا أكل الصائم أو شرب ناسيا فما حكم صومه? If a person now was to fast and he drank something out of forgetfulness, what is the ruling of his fast? Continues. جيد. من نسي وهو صائم فأكل وشرب فليتم صومه فإنما أطعمه الله وسقاه. جيد. Hadith Bukhari. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned, said, whoever forgets while he's fasting and eats and drinks, let him complete his what? His fast. Verily Allah fed him and gave him drink. Hadith is not only in Bukhari, it's in Bukhari and Muslim. It's muttafaqun alayh. فهو في الغاية من الصحة. جيد. حديث أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه. لكن متى ذكر وجب عليه الإقلاع ولو كان الطعام أو الشراب في فمه فليلفظه يعني يسيبه مباشرة. You understand what I'm saying, everyone? He says, now let's just say, for example, a person now, as soon as he remembers, somebody has a Kit Kat in his mouth, he's chewing on it, right? Akhi, you fasting. In that instant, he has to what? Get rid of it. Spit it out. You have to immediately what? Refrain. Right? G. It's not intentional. He was in state for what? I just said, how many conditions we say? What would you say, everyone? The ilm. What's the second? Dhikr. It has to be in state where he's remembering. حيث يكون ذاكرا عالما بالحكم وعالما بالوقت. Because we just said ilm breaks down to 2 types in regards to fast. You have to be knowledgeable of the what? Of the ruling, and knowledgeable of the what? Of the time. We said this last class. Knowledgeable of the ruling, knowledgeable of the what? Then we mentioned that. Knowledgeable of the ruling, knowledgeable of the time. If it's the opposite, then he's what? He's excused. Especially if it came to more than likely in his thought that time either did not come in yet or the time did come in, where it was time to break the fast. Like we said last class, right, everyone? Then the second one was what? Has to be a state of remembrance. He's remembering what he's doing. And the third is qasd. He's doing it intentionally. If he has these matters and he does it when he have knowledge of the matter, of whether it be the time or the hukum, or he's in a state of remembrance, and he's also intentionally do it, then it breaks the fast. But if it's not, then what do we say? It does not break the fast. For a person now is in a state where the second one we just talked about, which is called dhikr, where he's in a state remembrance. We just said the opposite of is what? Nisyan, forgetfulness. This person was in a state of what? Forgetfulness. For that reason, he's still what? Let's say a question now. A person ate a whole meal. When he's fasting on Ramadan. Ate a whole hamburger. Ate a whole burger. أكل همبرجر بكامله في رمضان. وهو في حال النسيان. هل أفطر أم لا? Did he break his fast or not? He's in a state of forgetfulness. Ate a whole hamburger and made a drunk of Pepsi with it. Drowned it with a Pepsi. A'udhu billah. Took it to the head, as they say, right? Took it to the head. Oh, it was good, man. That burger was good. Then you say, Akhi, you remember you was fasting? Oh, I forgot. It's gone already. Huh? What do you say? Is it fast and valid or not? Ate a whole meal. أكل وجبة كاملة. No. Who's the conditions? Keep in mind the conditions. Knowledge. State of what? Remembrance. He's in a state of forgetfulness. Totally oblivious he's fasting. I'm not fasting. Soon as he remembers, you fasted. I forgot. Fast still valid. Fast ما زال صحيح. لأنه كان في حال النسيان لا في حال الذكر. You understand? Allah gave him food, Allah gave him drink. خلاص. Fast is still valid. Even you'll find Ahl al-Ilm say even if he has ate 2 meals straight, if he was in a state of forgetfulness, fast is still valid. Allah fed him and gave him what? Drink. It's deep, isn't it? Hey, that's the hukum. We'll stop here and continue. If the brothers want, we continue at the salah. هذا وصلى الله وسلم بارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. This one, everything is on there.